Good afternoon. Today on Dusty Ridge, it's extremely hot and dry. I'm going to take you on a pasture tour to show you how I'm able to maintain condition of my pasture so my cows can graze all year round without having to feed much hay. So in case you didn't know, I rotationally graze here. I've got cattle and sheep that I rotationally graze. What that means is I set them up with a small area, let them eat that down for 3 to 5 days usually, then I get them off of that, let that area have a rest period, usually around a month. Right here in front of me, this area hasn't been grazed in over 2 months, so it's got plenty of growth. Behind me, those cows have been in there for about 4 days, so that area needs to get some rest, and we need to get the cows to some fresh ground, so we're going to do that. Also, it's been extremely dry here. It's been 90 plus for the last 7 days. We haven't really had any rain in about 2 weeks, so I'm going to go through and show you the paddocks that we've moved through, why you should rotationally graze, and the benefits of doing so. So I've got the fence turned off, got my shade hat on. Let's go see if we can get these cows moved over here. Once they see me in this fresh grass, they should come running, but it's pretty hot, so they may not want to. Come on, cows. Let's go. Come on, cows. Come on, cows. Come on. Let's go. Fresh ground. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Come on, fresh ground. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Come on. There we go. Look, fresh grass. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Come on, cow. Let's go. Come on, cow. What do you think? You like the fresh grass? Come on. Come on, cow. Let's go. Come on. Look, he's getting it. Let's go. Come on. Come on. That's it. Come on. Let's go. There we are. These first 2 steers that came in, they've been rotationally grazed their whole life, so they're pretty used to it. The rest of the herd usually follows them. Once they decide that they like where we're going, they'll follow the mama cows, and the calves will follow them through. They've only been rotationally grazed for about 3 months, so it still takes them a little bit of effort. But honestly, I hear a lot of times how much effort it would take for people to move their cattle. Once you get your cattle used to it, they love it. It's not hard. I mean, I don't have anything. I'm just clapping my hands and hollering for them, and they come to the fresh grass. If you give the cows what they want, they learn to trust you, and it's much easier to manage your animals in the long run this way. Come on, girls. Let's go. Last one through. Let's go. Let's go. That's it. Good girl. Well, come on, little buddy. Also, you don't have to worry about the calves. This is short enough, or excuse me, they're short enough, and this is tall enough that they can get underneath it. So when he wants to, he'll decide to come back through under here. This is really just to keep the big cows where we want them, because the calves are going to follow their mom. While I get the fence set up in the new area, I'll just let these cows come through here and graze. They might run off a little bit, but like you saw earlier, I can get them to follow me pretty much anywhere I want. So if they go too far that direction, I'll just push them back towards me here. But they're going to get quite a big area. A lot of it will be down here in the shade to help them stay cool during the day, and this needs cleared out a little bit. So we'll go through and we'll show you where we're setting them up at, and then the old area where they were, the difference that they made. So like I said, there's plenty of forage available in here. We grazed this. I don't think the cows actually got onto this. I think it was just the sheep that went through here in mid-April. So this has had a good long rest period. Plenty of clover in here. We planted some new clover in it this year. That's part of the reason why I let it rest for so long, because I didn't want to kill the clover before it had a chance to get started. Here's a good bunch of it. Look at that. So that'll be some nice red clover for us. Let them come through, graze this down. Also, I don't worry about the seed heads because look, free seeds. So when the cows come through here and that one's not quite ready, this one's ready. They'll just knock those seeds and it'll go to the ground, and their hooves will replant that, push the seeds into the ground, and when we do start getting some rain, we'll have new fresh grass shooting up and spread the grass even thicker through here. So, and then also we're going to put them down through here, let them clear out some of what they'll eat through here. They usually do a pretty decent job, actually, more than you would think of eating these type of areas out, but it'll be nice for them to get some nice shaded areas. And then my pigs are just over the hill there, so they'll be pretty close by. That's the idea of why I wanted the pigs, so they can come through. They can turn this into I believe it's called pasture, where they will clear out this bottom for me, a lot of the brush. I need to do a little bit more tree trimming on this section, take out some of the smaller stuff so some more light can get to the ground, and then we'll be able to plant some grass that's shade tolerant in there. And then during these hot spells, I can put the cows and the sheep down in here, and they'll be able to stay nice and cool and have some good food to eat. We're here in the old paddock that they were in. Like I said, they were in this area for about 4 or 5 days. I'm not exactly sure, but they cleaned it up pretty good. Got a lot of residual soil cover, which we need. Even in this area here, we're still struggling a little bit with it, but this faces south, so this is a south facing slope. My first video on the channel, I was actually walking through here showing you all of the broom sage that was in this area. Right up in here was really covered with it. So what I did is I let this stuff grow tall, the grass that was in here, let it go to seed, and then I let the cows come through and mash it down. So hopefully we can kill out that broom sage and start to just grow good solid grass in here. But man, it is hot today. I think it's already 93. It's about 11:30. It's supposed to get up to at least 95 today, so going to be a hot one. These cows did an excellent job cleaning this up, though. Did a lot of fertilizing in here, got some soil protection on the ground. That's the number one thing we're going to talk about a lot about today. I'll go through and show you most of my pastures have really good soil protection. These shaded areas underneath don't have quite as much, just because they don't grow the forage, so there's not enough to knock it down. But here's where the cows were hanging out a lot. You can you can see they trampled that up pretty good and basically turned it to dust. But man, this is really dry for this area. I mean, you probably saw me struggling when I was moving that fence post earlier. That's why I can't hardly drive them in the ground. It's just so dry right now. It is incredible. I was worried. April was pretty dry around here, and then May we got better. We had about 2 weeks in May where it rained every day straight, so we got about 4 or 5 inches in May, and then we've maybe had an inch since the 15th of May, and it is now the 20-something of June. I think it's the 22nd, so I think it's officially summer. So for this area, we average about 35-40 inches of rain a year. To go a month with only an inch of rain, it takes its toll on things around here. Also, you could probably hear the sheep in the background. They're going to get moved today too, so that's going to happen a little bit later on. We'll show you that. Right now, I've got to walk over here and get the reel for the fence. This makes a huge difference. If anybody's thinking about rotational grazing, you need to get these reels and break your cattle to 1 wire. I was really scared about doing that because I've had issues with cattle taking off in the past, and I just thought it would be a disaster. Honestly though, I tried to use the netting for 1 year, and even with calves, it was just too much. You need to have them trained to these reels. That's what's hanging on the fence right there. Then you can just wind this up and set up a new fence. Takes maybe half hour, 45 minutes for me, and I've got a lot of hills. If you had flat ground, you could do it pretty quick. All right, so here we are, we're back. We got the cows area set up, got the cows moved into it. Their water's filling up, so I'll give you a little tour of how we were able to set them up. So I took that reel, it's over there on the fence line now, so they can go down through here. We got their water tank set up here. Another tip, when it's this hot, you want to make sure the animals have plenty of nice cold water, and one way to help with that is to put their water in the shade if you can. So that's what we're able to do here. Here's what I was talking about. They got plenty of forage in here. Got quite a bit of clover coming up. Getting ready to go to seed. So we've got one tank filled up pretty much all the way already. So then we'll swap it over. Let that start filling up there. So we ran their fence down through here so they can get underneath into all this nice shaded area. It'll definitely help them be able to cool down quite a bit compared to where they were, having some nice green grass and cold water and then a lot of shade. That'll help the cows out. The sheep are still needing to get moved, so right now I'm going to finish filling up these water tanks, turn the fence on, and head over there to the sheep and get them put onto some fresh ground. They're ready for it. Good morning. It's a couple days later. I didn't have time to film after I moved the sheep. I needed to get them done, and it was just so hot that I didn't have the energy to keep filming and get everything done there, so had to prioritize the animals over the video. But here's the area they've been in. They still got some cleaning up to do. Doesn't look anything like the pastures. There's a lot more grass in the pastures, obviously, but this is an area where with all of the stumps and the rocks and things, it's just hard to get my big mower in here, and I don't like to weed eat, so I just put this in here, let the sheep clean it up. And like these banks here, there's really not an easy way to get through there, so I'm going to let them clean that up. Made sure they had a couple small shade trees here, so they do have an area where they can get into the shade, even though they like to stand in the sun most of the time. And they're going to go down through here again, this ditch line all the way through here, and the other side, that's a lot of weed eating I have to do. So the more you can utilize your animals to save you time and energy while also giving them feed, that's the ideal situation. So that's what we're doing here with the sheep right now. Not spending too much extra labor on them, doing things I would already have to do. I'd already have to take the time to clear this area out, so might as well feed the sheep while I'm doing it. Hadn't we, honey? She has shedded out very excellent. She's probably the best out of all of them as far as how she shedded out. So we'll see. I've been thinking about possibly breeding if I do. Definitely want to get a ram that has her qualities as far as shedding out, because the other ones, they still got quite a bit, especially that black one. I feel really bad for her. She's starting to lose it, but I really hope it flies off there quick, because we're already halfway through June here, so I want to see that fur come off of her quickly. The other ones are mainly just on their backs by now, but it seems like it's just been an odd year for them. The white one right there, Sally, she's an older one. She shedded out great last year, and then this year she's just hanging on to it forever. So maybe I've been trying to give them, that's what they're eating on there. I gave them some grain, and I gave them a mineral block. I'm thinking maybe they're low on minerals that they need. That's why they're not shedding out. So I'm trying to figure it out. So anybody with Katahdins out there that has some advice on how I can get these girls to shed out a little quicker, please let me know, because I want them to look like this one when it's this hot out here. They don't need that extra fur. So now we're going to head back out. I'll show you where the cows are at, and then we'll take a look at the other pastures, and we'll get this video finished up. Made it back out here to the cows, show you where they've been. So they've been in here now for 2 days, and you're seeing the impact right here in front of me. They've getting quite a bit of the grass knocked down, getting some manure spread in there, eating it down, getting a little bit thin in areas like this. So I knew this wasn't a super big area. Planned on them being in here the 4 days that I had to work, so I'll get them moved probably tomorrow or maybe the next day. But they've got plenty of grass ahead of them, so let's go take a look and see how this grass is looking. This grass was rested basically the same amount of time that the pasture they're in is, so there's not a ton of difference as far as growth and available forage. It's really just what they've impacted over there as far as mashing it down, and where they've ate a little bit and they got some manure on it. So this doesn't look too different. We've got a lot of orchard grass in here. We've got some clover coming up, trying to find some, and we've got some of our weeds. I can't remember what that one's called right now, but I have issues with that one. Always around July, it starts coming up strong everywhere. My wife and I planted a lot of clover in these fields during the springtime, and over the winter I fed hay that had some clover seed in it when they were out here on pasture. I would just throw them into an area, let them eat what they could off of it, and then start feeding them hay while they were doing so. With square bells, it makes it really easy to do that. Round bells, not quite so much, because you have to spread it out a lot more for them. Here's a nice example of the clover that we've got coming up. I believe this is the Bearcat clover that we had. It's supposed to be a hybrid that lasts longer. It's more perennial than a red clover. Sticks around like a white clover, but also gives you the red clover benefits of growing taller. This bottom area here in front of me was grazed about 2 weeks after the area I was just walking through, and you can tell such a difference in the amount of seed heads that are lacking in here versus there's some, but not nearly as much as where I was just walking through, where it was pretty much you couldn't avoid the seed heads. So I guess I timed this pasture just about right, so I'll have to go back and remember that for next year. And here is some of the cover crops that we've been planting where our pigs have been going through. So here's what it looks like when they tear it up, and then we planted this with some ryegrass and some oats. I actually caught the calves in here a couple times. They've been eating on it, so hopefully they don't kill it off too quick. I want it to be able to grow back and grow up pretty strong. So we did have a little bit of rain last night, luckily, so that helped. Calves they've definitely been in here, so that's good news though, that they like what's available to them there. It's growing strong and it's giving them healthy forage. That's exactly what we wanted in these areas. We wanted the cows to be able to have something to come back to and eat even once the pigs were gone. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you may recognize this spot. This is where I first started the pigs off in February. They had this completely tore up. We kept them on here for about 3 or 4 weeks, and then we reseeded this with some clover, annual ryegrass, some oats, and the orchard grass came back as well. It is just amazing how quickly this recovered. Definitely did not damage this area at all. When I was setting up the cows' fence the other day, this is actually where they came and they were hanging out in the shade and they were eating. You can see they've mashed down quite a bit and they ate some. Here's a bigger version of that weed I was talking about. They start to take over a little bit. It's usually why I try to mow about June or July, to knock those type of things down. And here's the rest of this particular field. It all is pretty much the same at this point. A lot of tall orchard grass with some clover getting mixed in there pretty strong too, so that makes me happy. Again, here's some of our Bearcat clover, and then here's some of the just straight medium red clover that we planted. So I'm extremely happy with how the clovers come up in these areas. Now let's take a look at some of the fields we've been grazing lately. These pastures were grazed about 2 weeks ago, maybe on the far end I'd say about 3 weeks ago, and as we go to my left, closer to 2 weeks. I did come through and mow these. I made that video on the channel, so if you've watched that, this is where the cows were at during that time. So this is what we've had come back during that period. We've got a lot of grass in here and a little bit of clover. When we get to winter time this year, if I'm feeding hay, it's got quite a bit of clover. Again, as a farmer, you're always trying to plan ahead. If I do have some pretty heavy clover hay, I'm going to be putting it out in here. These pastures just don't have quite as much clover. They've got quite a few weed problems, so I want to try to thicken them up. I mean, just like this stuff here, just a bunch of things that the cows can eat, but they usually seem to pick through it. So I'd rather try to choke that out with some good thick grass. I mean, here's some more. So that's part of the reason too why I wanted to mow this down. Make sure we had a good layer of grass on there, soil protection, something building some more organic matter. Again, so the cows didn't eat it, but look at this. We got that nice protection. Wow. Here's how dry it is. This on top is wet. My soil didn't even get wet. That's how little rain we actually got last night, and just how dry it is here right now. So we're trying to do our best to maintain some grass growth in this type of weather, but right now in the last 60 days, I'm about 4 or 5 inches short of where we should be. So that's about half of the total we should be getting. So it's definitely taken a toll. Moved a little further down in this to show you just how much it's starting to regrow, because that was 3 or 4 weeks ago. This has been, like I said, 2 or 3 weeks, so definitely a difference in the grass growth. I also came through and mowed this area. You can tell usually by the seed heads and the lack of weeds sticking up. That's how you can tell that I've mowed them. It does make a big difference, because these fields, like I said, they need a lot of work. So hopefully this winter we can get a lot of hay thrown in here, get some extra seeds added, get a lot of soil impact in here, get some fertilizer from the cows for free. See right here, all the clover that's coming out of their manure. So it definitely does make a difference when you have something in here to fertilize it and grazing it down. It helps. These I don't believe were ever grazed these fields I don't think were grazed nearly as long as the ones that where the cows are and the pigs are right now up close to the house. I believe those have been in pasture for a lot longer, or at least they've been improved quite a bit more. The grass just isn't nearly as strong out here, so we're going to do a lot of work to try to get this up to speed. These are actually my neighbor's fields. They're kind enough to let me use them because they were just getting them mowed off, brush hogged 3 or 4 times a year. So instead of doing that, I said, hey, you mind if I save you some labor and come through and graze it, and then afterwards I mow it myself. So they agreed to it. They've been very generous with that, so I want to make sure I improve these pastures, make them look in prime condition for them, so that way they know I appreciate what they're letting me do. So I try to be very honest with you on this channel, and right now we're going to go over the bad. I've showed you the good of how much grass I have and how it's recovered. This here is probably my strongest field. I'm going to say I overgrazed this. Areas like this here got extremely short, while we still do have some areas where we have some nice tall grass. That's the issue I have. Honestly, maybe I'm just not packing them tight enough, but I've never been able to seem to get a perfect graze like they say. You know, I see some of the guys and some of the people that even inspire me, like Greg Judy and those guys, that it seems like they can just get it to where all the grass is grazed the same level or trampled on, and they don't have thin spots like this and then really thick spots. So that's probably why I kept them in here. I think in my mind I was trying to get some of this stuff ate, and they just weren't going to pick that while they had anything available here. They would rather eat that to the dirt, because this has been recovered for about a week, maybe 2 weeks now. So but like I said in previous videos, that soil protection right there makes a big difference. Compared to my yard right now, that's hard, but it's still got a little bit of give to it. My yard has absolutely no give to it. You know, my grass is burning up in the yard, so seeing that we've got grass coming back here is very encouraging. I mean, this stuff here is all new growth because they ate it down to nothing right there. So seeing that come back is very encouraging. I'm not an expert by any means. I'm just out here trying to learn as well. We've got a ton of clover in this field. We fed hay up here. I kept them close because this is right near the house. So I kept them close up here in January when it was extremely cold and there was a lot of snow on. So I fed a lot of hay here, and then we planted it with some clover too. And it definitely paid off. I mean, look at this, beautiful. So excited to see that. If you didn't know, I rotationally graze. So what that means is I set them up in small areas that'll feed them for usually at the maximum up to a week, and then I will take them and move them off of that area, let it rest and let it recover. Usually the idea is let it rest and get some rain on it, but these areas just haven't had much rain at all this year, so that's been the problem with it. But even in the worst of times, having this strategy over set stocking, which is where you just allow your cows to stay in one field all the time and eat what they want, just like they did back there, then you would have no grass, and then you'd have grass that was too tall that they didn't want to eat. So that's the idea behind the rotational grazing, is to try to keep your pastures in pretty good condition all the time, and helps with drought resistance and parasite resistance and a lot of other beneficial factors. Also helps the environment through like right here, you can see we've got a lot of hill here, and it all drains down into that bottom. So if we had this to where it was dirt everywhere, when we do get hard rains, it would just run off and we'd have erosion issues. Then you have a lot of manure getting into the streams, and it just causes, that's what's causing a lot of the algae blooms that you have in the Midwest right now. Not only the farm fields with row crops, but also you have the manure coming from all the cows and the pigs that are in those feedlots out there. So that's why we're trying to raise ours a little bit different. Here's some nice recovery. So this field here was the video that I made about rotational grazing and the grass getting out of control and getting too tall on me. I did not mow this field this year at all. I haven't mowed the field that we were just in either. So neither one of these two have been mowed. So that's why you see so many of the seed heads in here. But also at this point, I'm not mowing this field at all. We skipped over this one when we came back through. So the two fields that had a couple weeks of rest are out there. And then this field here has about a month of rest. The cows actually, they decided one day that they were in those fields and they decided they just wanted to come back home. So that's why we skipped this field instead of pushing them back into it. So we left this one, and it's just looking excellent. This is how I would like all my fields to look. Lush green grass. I don't mind the seed heads, but once they get through this time, this is probably going to get mowed off just once they graze it down, and we can knock those seed heads down and it'll look absolutely beautiful. So that's the idea. We want to keep our fields looking great. When I first got into farming, I didn't think I wanted to, because farm fields, cow fields just always look terrible. They always have a ton of weeds and brush growing in them and not much grass. Well, I found the key to growing grass. So I'm not going to say this was all my idea by any means. This was just a lot of stumbling upon things on the internet. Actually, how I came about it was I have these big hills here and banks that I can't really mow very well. It doesn't look like it, but if I was actually holding it on camera, it would be about like this. So what I decided to was that winter, I started talking to my wife about getting, she initially wanted goats, and I said, yeah, sure, you know, if we can use them to help me keep things like this ate down and I don't have to mow and weed eat and risk working on these banks all the time, why not just let the animals clean it up? Well, then we got into learning about sheep and how sheep actually like to eat grass more than the goats do. So one thing led to another, and then I started learning about rotational grazing and temporary netting, because I needed something where I could keep them on here but then move them somewhere else and not have a permanent fence. Because here's my permanent fence. I didn't want to build another fence right there that I really didn't need. I just need something to take the grass down. Well, then I learned about rotational grazing and putting up a electric netting and just letting them eat the area out and then move them along. So that's what we decided to do. And then, you know, you find Greg Judy videos and Joel Salatin, and the next thing you know, you're hooked on it, and you want to have the whole cow herd and see if you can do it yourself. So that's where we're at with this. I'm enjoying it so far. It's definitely has a lot of positive benefits. If this year, with as dry as it is, if I had set stocking, which I actually did for 2 years before I learned about rotational grazing, if I was set stocking right now, I would have nothing. I mean, it would all look like this in front of you. It would just all be ate down, and you'd have a couple seed heads sticking up, and I'd be thinking about going bankrupt at this point. So it is definitely the way to do it. If you're in it to make money and you've got the ability, you need to get out and move your cattle. So I believe that's all I've got for today's video. I do appreciate everybody taking the time to watch this. So to sum up though, rotational grazing is just the way to raise cattle. Anything that grazes, you want to make sure you're moving those animals. One, you're going to keep them healthier by reducing their parasite load. Two, you're going to make them healthier through giving them quality feed all the time. And three, you're going to make your pastures healthier. You're not going to harm the environment. People are going to come to your farm and be impressed with how clean and natural things look. And you're also going to save a lot of money. You're not going to have the extra feed costs. You're not going to have all of the dewormers and any other medicines that you might need from the animals having illness just from being in their manure all the time and having a lack of good quality food. Just like with humans, if we eat junk food all the time, things that aren't good for us, and we don't get out and clean ourselves up, we get sick too. So just think about that when you're raising animals. Treat them the way you would want to be treated. That being said though, it's time for me to go inside, get some rest. If you've made it this far in the video and you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow my farm out here, so YouTube is one of the avenues I'm using to do that. So please help me spread the word. Comment, like, subscribe, all of those things. I know you hear them on every channel, but it does mean a lot, especially on a channel as small as mine. I appreciate everybody taking the time to watch this, and have a great day.